So for the very first question, toSum, we are given an array of integers num and an integer target, and the goal is to return indices of the two numbers such that they add up to target. And we can assume that each input would have exactly one solution, and we can't use the same element two times. And yeah, for example 1, we are given an array of integers and a target of 9. The answer to this is 2 plus 7, so we return 0 and 1 because the index for 2 is 0 and the index for 7 is 1. And then for example 2, we are given an array of 3 integers, 3, 2, and 4. And for this problem, we can't just use 3 plus 3 because we can't use the same element twice. So instead we return 1 and 2 because 2 plus 4 equals to 6, which is the target. And for example 3, we are given 2 elements, both which are 3, and the target is 6, and we return 0 and 1 because 3 plus 3 equals to 6. And example 3 is just showing us that we can use the same element twice if they are different indices. Now, intuitively, this is how I would solve the problem. So what I would do to solve the problem is to kind of check every single combination of 2 indices as possible and check if they add up to the target value. So I would check 2, 7. Let's assume that the target is 13 instead of 9. So I would check 2 and 7, and that doesn't match up, and then I'll choose 2 and 11, and that matches up. So we return the indices of 2 and 11, which is 0 and 2. And again, we know that that is the solution because we are assuming that each input will have exactly one solution. And yeah, so to code this up, I think it's pretty intuitive. You just use 2 for loops, and for the second for loop, you have to do I plus 1 to ensure that you don't check 2 of the same indices when trying out all the combinations of indices to add up to target. So we do I plus 1 to range, length nums, and then if nums I plus nums j equals to target, we can just return I and j, and this should work. And if you submit, it should be good. However, that solution is not very efficient. Its time complexity is O of n squared because you're looping through, it's just 2 for loops, and 2 for loops is n squared. And on top of that, the space complexity is O of n because worst case, like if you look at example 3, there are 2 elements in nums and the output is 2 indices, so 2 elements. So yeah, O of n. So yeah, there's actually a better solution, a more optimal, more efficient solution, and it takes kind of understanding like how the problem works. So over here I have an array drawn out. It's 4 elements, and yeah, let's just say like the target is 6. So to find 6, obviously, if we were to take that approach, we'd compare this plus this, this plus this, and this plus this to find that the answer to the problem is 0 and 3. But we can actually use a hash map for this. So we can put every single number in the array into a hash map. So let's put this as the key, the value as the key, and the indice as the value. So we can do this for every single one of our elements. And for index 3, you can see that this key already exists. So what we can do is we will replace this value with the new index, the most recent, I guess it's like the most recent occurrence of the index. And that's our hash map. And from there, what we can do is we can loop through the array again, but this time what we can do is we can take target minus the value of, we can set like, I mean, we're using a for loop, so let's just say it's like for I, so we can just subtract that from n I, and let's say I is 0, so t, which is 6, minus the first index t minus 3, that would just be equal to 3. So what we're looking for is the number 3, and if there is another element 3 that isn't the same index as ni, because ni is also 3, then what we can do is we can return the 2 indices as such. And yeah, let's code this up. So we can first create our hash map and then loop through the nums array, and we can put all of the indices. We create a new key, which is every single element, and if that key already exists, the value would just replace the value of that key, which is just I. And then afterwards we can loop through the array again, and if so, we can just set a new define equals to target minus nums I, and if value to find is in value, then we can find the index, which is the value, which is, we can find the index of such value that we need. So to do that, we just do value to find, and if index does not equal to I, then we can just return index in I. And if you submit this, it should work.